Welcome to Duck Club Tuning and Finding the Sweet Spot. Grab a cup of coffee and like and subscribe.
And welcome back to Duck Club Tuning, Finding the Sweet Spot. Today I have the Juzear Defiant. And I bought this about, 2 months ago. And life happens. I didn't get around to getting the review out, and I really needed to. And I really need to, because this is an excellent value proposition. This is the value king for under $100 in my opinion. What we have here is an XZ Reviews collaboration with Juzear. Did the Juzear 61T Butterfly that Mark Ryan sent to me probably a year ago. And I got to tell you, that was a great IEM. And it also had like a abalone shell finish to it. And there were two choices when I bought this IEM. Either get the green one or get the one that was sort of like an abalone shell. And I don't have a really good green IEM, so I ordered the green one. And that's what I got. So there's the box. I got the green one. And I ordered this off Amazon. I think I paid $89 for it. I didn't do an unboxing on it. I will show you what's in the box as we go through the review and tell you just how good it really is. But I saw Zeos at the show last week and I was like, man, I got to get around to this. And I promised him I would get it out this week. And I'm holding true to my promise, Zeos, because this really is worth its chops. What comes in the box? Well, you get 7 sets of tips. I did read online somebody say that it gets like 13 sets of tips or whatever. No. It gets 7 sets of tips. I actually went in, counted them again. It gets 1 set of foams. It gets 2 different type of silicone tips in 3 different sizes. So you get your small, medium, large. And that's right here. So you got your white silicone tips and you've got these gray silicone tips. Their nozzles are about the same, but the shape of the tip itself is a little bit different. You do get a premium cable. So this cable right here, when I say premium, I mean it comes with modular terminations and really good modular terminations. What I mean by that, I'll just grab the cable here real quick so I can show you. And I'm going to tell you why I don't have it on the IEMs as I go through the review. But what I like a cable that if it does have modular terminations, I like it to have a thread, a knurled thread that locks it on so it won't pull off. And I think that's premium. It's a little bit bulky in through here. Some of them are more flush, but at this price point, this is an excellent value proposition. So you get a 3.5, you get a 4.4, and then you get this light blue and pinky red cable that comes with it. And it also comes with this case. There's the case. The case is a PU leather, but it's nice and small. This fits in your pocket really, really well. So some cases are massive. They don't fit in your pocket. This does, and the zipper is actually really good, so it doesn't get stuck or anything, so it's got a good zipper on it. It also comes with this little waifu, and I don't know if I spelled that right. I'm not a waifu guy, but Zeos is. There it is. So it's his symbol. There's some Chinese characters on there as well, and this has actually been sitting up here on my desk since I opened the box. So Zeos, just know that you're looking over me while I'm doing my reviews over here. So we'll leave that over here for now, though. What also comes in the box? You get a cleaning cloth, and you get the IEMs themselves. So let's talk a little bit about the IEMs and what they are. So again, 2 different colors that you can choose from. I believe the abalone shell one there that has the pinks and the blues and the greens, it goes with the stock cable very well. The green one, on the other hand, doesn't really match. And I did read some other reviews. And perhaps they should have released this with a green cable or a different color cable, a white cable, because it doesn't really match that red and blue theme that the one on the right does. But what do you get inside as far as drivers are concerned? Well, you get one 10mm PU composite dynamic driver. You also get 3 BAs. And it looks like right here you've got 2 BAs, these new architecture BAs that are handling the mids. And then you have this other BA right here that is handling the ultra high frequencies. This graph right here, by the way, is not what it looks like. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I did the graphing, but it is an excellent, well-tuned set. It also has a very high impedance. It has an impedance of 32 ohms. That tends to eliminate a lot of the white noise in the background and give you a lot of clarity. I like the impedance that this has. Here is, again, the green set on this cable. And I wasn't, like I said, the biggest fan of this cable matched with the green set. Again, I think it works very well on the abalone shells, on the ones that sort of shimmer, all rainbows of colors. So it does work very well. If you like this cable, then get that color IEM. If you like that color IEM, you're going to be happy with this cable. The cable does have a right and a left on it. You can't see it up close when I hold the cable. Here's a tour around the IEMs though. I wanted to show you what green looks like. And you can see the Defiant symbol under the Zeos symbol right there. You can see it says Juzear on there and right and left. But when it shimmers in the light, when the light hits it, look at that. That shimmery green is why I bought this IEM. There it is. I really, really like the richness, the emerald green shimmers that this has. So what I did is I looked at a few different cables. And this is the Defiant on a green cable. And if it's not matched perfectly to the green, the contrast is there, that's okay. And that's the green cable that I put it on right there. I got this off of AliExpress, probably cost about 50 bucks, about half as much as what the Defiant costs in the first place. But that's a green cable with the green Defiant. Then I put it onto a gold cable. Wow, it just popped. So if you have a green Defiant, or if you want to order a green Defiant, you might want to think about getting a silky smooth gold cable to go with it, or a yellow cable. And that's what I did here. So what I wound up choosing as the cable that went with this, I thought it did it proper as far as the aesthetics look. This is the graph, and I can tell you right now, just looking at the graph, this is going to be a good listen. The bass is slightly over treble, so it has a slightly elevated bass over the treble, maybe by about 1 or 2 dB, which is excellent start. The bass doesn't muddy the mids. It actually is going down with a tuck at about 200, which is another really good sign. What I did see here is an early Pina rise, so the Pina gain here was starting to come up before 1K. And has a little bit of a bump in it. I saw it wasn't too peaky though, which means it wasn't going to be an overly bright IEM, which it is not. And then the treble extension is very good, and that's because it has those BAs, and that high frequency BA is actually playing out here at about 13K. This is what I tuned it to. So I elevated the bass all the way through. So everything here, especially the sub bass, I did tuck this in again at about 200, same sort of tuck, followed it straight down, and then pretty much the same through the mids. The only difference is I actually had a much later Pina gain. And this actually helped to give me, let's say, more soundstage, but actually controlled any sort of shoutiness that was brought in by this little bump right here. And then when you look at the 6K region, they controlled this very well. I only added just a touch more at 6K until I heard a little bit of sibilance, and then I backed it off. That's where I settled. So I've got some tracks on here that I listen to that are purposely sibilant, and then I actually filled in this gap here at 10K and cooled it down a little bit as well out at 13K. And that's what I wound up with. But you can see this region right here is pretty close to the tuning that came out of the box. I only elevated this bass region. I wanted to show you something, because you think, why does Duck Bloke always seem to elevate the bass? I use Venus velvet tips, and I'm going to put this graph up so you can see it a little bit better in this region right here and this region over here. So here's the graph, and what I've done here is 3 different tips. I've done the stock silicon tips that came with the Defiant. I've done the Venus velvet tips, and that's the line in black. And then the line in orange are the foam tips that I use on my coupler when I'm actually measuring. So when I do all of my measurements, I have to remain consistent. I always use these orange tips right here, okay? And I have heaps of these. Once these wear out, I throw them away. I put a new set on. The silicon tips that come with the Defiant are right here. And these are narrow bore. So they're about a 3mm bore internal. That is really narrow. And what narrow bore tends to do is it will give you the sense of more bass. But when you measure it on a coupler, it's not going to show it. So the tips that I listen with are always my Venus velvets. Again, for what I do, I have to remain consistent. And these are the Venus velvet tips, and their bore is 5.8mm. So it's a medium bore tip. So it's about 2.8 millimeters larger, almost double, and the bore is the same all the way through, and it matches the nozzle. So that's why I really, really recommend that you use Divinus Velvets. People that tip roll and are against EQing, well, you're already EQing. You're changing the frequency response by changing the tip bore. What I'm doing is, through PEQ, is I'm keeping the same consistent tip that seems to work best for me, which is the Divinus Velvets, and I'm tuning everything to that tip so I can get more precise than simply doing a tip roll. But what I wanted to emphasize here is when you put a narrow bore 3mm tip on the coupler and you put the Divinus Velvets, which are almost double the size, onto the coupler, they overlay. They overlay in the bass region. So you're not going to see it on the coupler, but you are 100% going to hear it. And that's really what I wanted to emphasize here is tips matter, and stay with the same tip if you can. Some people need to use a different tip just because of the shell design and so forth, but I really do try to stay with my Divinus Velvets, and that's why I've standardized on that across the board. Enough rambling about tips. Let's talk about where this landed on my 30-song listen. So I create my PEQ array, 35 different PEQ settings. I load them into my trusty DX320 Max Ti, and then I listen to my 30 songs, and I plot which PEQ sounds best for every single song. And what's really fortunate about this set is they all pretty much fell on the same spot. So the spread wasn't very wide. There were a few outliers, but most of the songs fell here at what I would consider to be bright 1, bass 4, and just in the corner of bass 4. So I actually called it a bass 3.75, and the treble is a treble 0.75. I thought it started out at a bass 2 and a warm 1. So I added a little bit of brightness to it, believe it or not, and I elevated the bass just like I show you in the graph, but that overcomes what you're doing with a narrow bore tip and allows you to keep your sound stage. So what happens when you put a narrow bore tip on in general, and you can debate me on this, but when you use a narrow bore tip, you are going to elevate bass and you are going to diminish how wide the sound sounds, or the sound stage that you're hearing, the separation that you're hearing, the detail that you're hearing, because you're creating this boomy bass with the narrow tip. It's taking that away. What I do by using the Divinus Velvets is you're widening it, and then you're using the PEQ to add the bass where you need it, and that's what I've done here. How does this sound out of the box? It scored a 9.13 out of 10. This is a low A tier for under $100. Like I said, I think it's like $89 on Amazon right now. Insane value. So well done, Zeos, on this set, and it is incredibly well rounded. So that is so when I said what does it do best? Mostly due to its extremely well rounded presence. So everything sounds good and scores about the same in that blue line all the way around. And by adding the PEQ to this, I elevated it to a 9.31. It is a mid A tier for under $100. It elevated just about everything equally all the way around. So it was really just polishing a diamond that was already there. And it wasn't a dull diamond. It was already a shiny diamond. So I really, really like this set a lot. So here's what it looks like on the bar graph. You can see it in green. These are its best attributes, but its best attributes are very close to, let's say, its average attributes. It's very close. If anything, the midsection on this needed a little bit of fine tuning, and I think that's when I brought that Pina gain a little bit later. That actually cleaned this up quite a bit. And its bass region elevated. Its sound stage was already really good. That elevated to a 9.25 right there. Its note weight and slam elevated into the 9.2s, and its tonality elevated in the 9.2s. So it has very good tonality with and without PEQ, but really, really well with the PEQs added. Well done. I mean, this is exactly the sort of response that you would want, where everything is elevated, but everything starts round, and nothing was deficient out of the box. Would I highly recommend the Defiant? Absolutely. If you have $100 to spend on an IEM, I think this is your go. This is the best value because you're not only getting a great sounding IEM, you're getting something that looks great, and you're getting something that has multiple drivers. So you're getting two different types of BAs to create a hybrid with the 10mm dynamic driver, which gives you the punch. Zeos, it was great seeing you. I'll send you a link to this. I'll put links in the description. I'm also going to put the value for money scale up. So right now, value for money scale. The value for money scale on this is a 10 out of 10. It is all the way up at the end. If you've got $100 to spend, this is your pony. This is it. So with that, like and subscribe. Duck Look out.